Welcome to the 80-20 Baseball Podcast. Strike! The 80-20 Coaching Masterclass, our weekly get-together where coaches go from new to good and good to great. Mastering the fundamentals and the art of coaching.
Welcome to this week's episode. This week's get-together, Coach Bo here, 80-20 Baseball. We're trying to elevate our coaching game as efficiently as possible and trying to optimize it, questioning every coaching strategy to see if there are better ways, to see if we're doing it the best way, or to see if the way we're doing it can be optimized, improved, even if just a little. It all adds up. Got a bite-sized episode this week and next week, and then should be lined up for a really good interview. And those episodes are a little bit longer in length. Got a great guest coming on, Coach Sarancic, with a great topic. I hope the new year is off to a great start for you, and I hope we are all making it a great year so far. And by showing up here, you're trying your best to make the upcoming season the best you can. So props to all of you for showing up. I'll tell you what, all of you that listen to this podcast that show up here, you're my kind of people. You want to get better at something that you know is super important. Our kids are our top priority, right up there with our own health and our spouse. And youth baseball, youth sports is just a phenomenal way to help shape and mold our kids to have brighter futures, better futures by using the vehicle of sports to get there. But we also want to have fun and have success along the way. And I'm sure that's why most of you are here. The best way to support this podcast is to leave a positive review on your podcast app. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes to do this, and it's always appreciated. That's the best way to support the podcast. There are no advertisements on here. I've turned down every ad request, but you can support this podcast for free by just spending 3-4 minutes and leaving that podcast app review. I would appreciate that. Now, Daddy Ball. Daddy Ball is something that gets brought up often. Daddy Ball, there's different definitions of it, but basically it's when the manager, the coach, takes care of their kid, preferential treatment of their kid or kids. Their kid always bats leadoff. Their kid always pitches, always plays the premium quote unquote positions, shortstop. And recently I've seen this question of how to assess or identify if you're on a daddy ball team. I think that's the easy part, being able to tell if you're on a daddy ball team. Does the coach's kid clearly get preferential treatment in the lineup, positions, how much they get coached up during practice versus the other kids? But I think there are some tougher things to navigate here other than just identifying what it looks like. Now, I'm going to come out right now and say something that I know might not be something that's talked about a lot. In fact, I don't hear it very much. It seems like I'm always hearing how managers, head coaches should show no preferential treatment for their kids at all. Here's the thing. Here's the problem I have with that. The coach or the coaches are the ones out there sacrificing the time. They're the ones putting in all the time and effort and work. So is it a bad thing if their kid gets to hit at the top of the lineup a little more often, or gets to pitch a little more often, or plays shortstop a little more often? I don't think so. Now, there's always caveats and there's always different nuances to this. Here are two of them. One, some parents are single parents and they have to work. They literally can't get to the field unless they did a career shift, a job change. They can't make it out during practice time. Now, you could back that up and say, well, they chose that job or that profession. Yeah, I get it, but that's not really a great place to go. There are parents that just can't make it out to the field to coach. And sometimes they can't even make it to all the games. Of course, there are parents that are way too invested in their jobs and careers, and their kids come a distant second or third. And of course, that is, to me, a massive no-no. Of course, we want to provide for our families. That is very important. And I think it's kind of looked down on. I think providing, taking care of our families is super important. Of course, that's important. But I think the excessive work hours that could be curtailed in a way, and those could be spent at the field or at the games. So I don't want to get off on that tangent, but the majority of parents that don't coach that I've seen in my experience, the majority of parents that I've come across that don't coach, it's not because they couldn't. It's not because they don't quite have the time. Another reason that not all the parents can get out there and coach is they have other kids. They might be coaching another team. They might be coaching their kid in another sport or in that sport for another team, so they can't make it. So there's definitely a lot of nuances to this daddy ball equation. I have no problem if the coach's kid, I don't have a problem with the coach's kid getting a few more innings, batting at the top of the lineup a little more often, playing shortstop a little more often than the other players. A lot more often, yeah, I think that's a problem. If they bat leadoff every game or they're batting in the top 4 spots of the lineup every game, not a fan of that. 3 out of 4 games, they bat in the top 4 spots. That's cool. I wouldn't have them bat leadoff 3 games and then put them in the 4th spot for one of the games and then back to the leadoff spot for 3 more games. But I think as onlookers or from the outside looking in, we also have to be careful to be really quick to bash daddy ball. Like I said, if their kid is getting superior preferential treatment, yeah, that's an issue. But if there's a little preferential treatment, and I'm not talking like they're nice to their kid and mean to the other kids. I'm just talking about like where they're hitting in the lineup, positions they're playing, how much attention they're getting at practice versus the other kids. There shouldn't be a stark difference there. A little bit, yeah, that's okay. I'm not saying we should go out and do that. In fact, I wouldn't show preferential treatment as a coach when it comes to coaching kids up during practice at all towards my own kid. I would make sure that my coaching pointers, my attention is distributed as balanced as possible. We should be distributing our praise in a balanced, even way as best we can across the team. We should make every kid feel an equally valuable part of the team. So when it comes to coaching up the kids out of practice and coaching them up with our messages and how we're working with them on their skill development on an individual level, that should be balanced across the board as best as possible. I would recommend defaulting to your lineup, just setting it at the beginning of the year. If you want to put your kid first or second, that's fine. But then from there, every game, everybody rotates back 1 spot. And of course, the back end of the lineup flips forward. So the 9 or 10 hole or whatever is going to flip up and be the leadoff hitter. Therefore, it's going to work its way out, but your kid did get a bat first or second to start. So in all likelihood, they'll probably have a few more at-bats throughout the year, but it's not going to be a big difference. When it comes to pitching, maybe your kid pitches 3 innings and the other kids pitch 2 innings, but it shouldn't be 5 innings of your kid pitching and the other kid never gets to pitch. So keep that in mind. Now, if your kid's not good at pitching, this doesn't apply. But I mean, for those of you that have kids that pitch, it doesn't need to be exactly even. But I think we should do our best to try to keep it even in terms of playing time, lineup positioning, the different positions they play. Daddy ball actually hurts our own kids if we are the coach doing the daddy ball, if we're just playing them at shortstop the whole time. They should be able to play outfield. They should move around. Players should be moving around. That's actually more valuable as they move forward and move up levels. Having the ability to play a variety of positions opens so many more doors and inherently gives them a greater opportunity or chance of making those teams as they move forward and move up levels. Now, if you're on a daddy ball team, but the coaching is awesome. So let's say we have a player that's on a team and let's say you're coaching, but maybe in a year from now, you step back and you're like, man, this coach is all about his kid, hits leadoff every game, pitches more than the other kids, plays a lot more shortstop than the other kids. Now, this very well may be a slightly different viewpoint of this, but if that coach is really great and they run awesome practices and my kid is getting better, I don't really have a problem if my kid doesn't bat leadoff all year or bat 7th all year. If the training environment is awesome, this coach is getting great results with the kids and my kid, I would consider that well worth the trade-off. If your kid is on a daddy ball team, but with great coaching and your kid is getting better, having fun, and getting a decent amount of playing time, I would stick with that team. I hear this a lot. My kid's on a daddy ball team, or that's daddy ball. I need to get out of this. I need to find another team. We need to go look elsewhere for another place to play. Yeah, if that coach sucks, your kid's not getting better and they're not having fun, yeah, at the end of the season, jump ship, move on. But if you're on a daddy ball team and that coaching is top tier, if your kid is getting better, if your kid's having fun, the environment's fun, and they're getting a decent amount of playing time in the games, I would definitely stick with that team. Because at the youth baseball level, it's not always easy to find both great coaching and a fun team. It's not that common. So I would take a team that has great coaching and a fun environment over a team that doesn't have great coaching. It's not a fun environment, but my kid bats leadoff or gets to pitch more. Just because the coach's kid always bats leadoff and pitches more than the other kids, that isn't necessarily a reason to leave that team. So I want to give a different look on this, a different perspective. These are nuanced, there's caveats, and that's what I think separates this podcast. We look at the different angles so we can make the best decisions depending on our situations. I hope this helps all of you. If you come across this on either side of it, it helps guide you down a better path, a path where it can be a win-win for everybody. All right, next week's topic, preventing clicks on the team. These small groups, this can erode our team chemistry, our team culture so fast. We're going to talk about how to prevent or at a minimum reduce the chances that cliques happen with our teams. We'll talk about that next week. Always great being here with all of you. If you wouldn't mind right now, just leaving that review for the podcast on your podcast app. If you dig around, you should be able to see how to do that pretty quickly. That really helps. And until next week, let's keep taking care of our health, our foundations, so we can be at our best for our families, close friends, our team. Let's take this information out there. Let's put it into play. Let's put it into action. Y'all take care. Until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Podcast, the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. We got this. Now, let's take the field.